Hello everyone, hope you are doing well. Welcome to Excel for Data Analytics 10 days challenge. And this is the day number 5 where we are going to see about pivot tables. In last lecture, we have learned about most important advanced Excel formulas, which is SUMIFS, COUNTIFS and your AVERAGEIFS. Now in this lecture, we are going to learn how you can replace all these complex formulas with one table, and that is also a dynamic table. If I tell you what is the difference between a normal table and the dynamic table or a pivot table, so in normal table, once you added your values, it will not change. But if I talk about the pivot table, if you are adding some values, you can change by using some drop downs. You can drag and drop and everything will change. And this is most important function in each and every data analyst work. So I hope you will understand each and everything that I am explaining. If you have any questions related to the technical part of Excel or any other thing, you can mention in the comment box. Okay, so let's get started. So guys, in this video we are going to learn about pivot tables. Now what is pivot table? So basically pivot table is the table which help you to automate the thing. Now let's consider if you have one data and from that you have created one table using some XLOOKUP or other formulas, or you have manually put up the numbers over there, then your table will look like this, right? And in this table it's very evident that once you updated the numbers, you cannot change those numbers. But pivot table is the table where you can change the numbers, you can change the rows, columns, values, everything you can change, plus you can add the filters into the pivot table. Now what is pivot table? First of all, let's understand that thing. So in pivot tables you will find multiple rows and columns of the data, and from that data you need to come up with some table which will be your end result of your data. Means you will analyze something out of it. It can be related to sales, it can be related to finance, it can be related to anything, but at the end of the day we'll find some analysis, we'll find some extract out of that data, and that thing will derive through a pivot table. Now what is pivot table? Simply you have this data. Okay, you can see here on this presentation, you can see there are multiple columns. First is date, second is region, then product, unit sold and sales amount. Now these are the columns here, and let's say if I ask you question like which region had the highest sales, will you be able to tell me by looking at this data? No. Okay, next question is what was our top product last quarter? Will be able to answer this using this data? The answer is no. That's why you want pivot table for this. Okay, so we'll learn what is pivot table. Before going to that, let me tell you what is pivot table and how you can create that table with the help of infographics. So basically you have this where you will find the raw data that we have discussed, that we'll have raw data. Then what you need to do first is you need to just select the raw data. Okay, whatever data table you are having or sheet having, you need to select that. We'll go and see the practically, but right now I'm telling you how you can create that table. Okay, so first of all you need to select and insert a pivot table. You will find this option in Google Sheets as well as Excel sheets. And in this video we are going to see about both of the sheets. The interface is little different, but the concept is very simple and easy, and it is applicable for both Google Sheets and Microsoft Excel. Okay, so then you need to build a report. How you can build a report? Once you created the table, you will find 4 options over there. First will be your rows, second will be your column. This will be a filter. I have created this using AI, so it is showing wrong. Here it will be filter, and fourth will be your values. Okay, I'll before sharing this graphic, I'll edit this and will let you know, but 4 things will be there. Okay, and this all 4 things you can use using the pivot table. Then you can customize your calculation. Okay, these things we are going to see: sum, average, count, max and minimum in pivot table. How can you use it? So this is your values. Okay, this one is your values. Then this is your filter. You can see here filter. You can apply filters of multiple things. Then it will be your rows and column. Rows and column will be as it is, whatever it will be there. Then you can customize your dimensions or color pattern or whatever it is there. You can customize the theme, and you can filter for the focus. Means there will be multiple things you can filter according to your choice. Okay, that we are going to see through a practical example. Okay, so basically pivot table is the table where you don't need any formula or something. It will give you the extract of your whole data. okay, including sum. If you want sum, average, percentage change, whatever you want to calculate, you can calculate using the pivot table. Now these are the steps, and we are going to follow same steps on the Excel sheet. The first step is we need to create our canvas. Okay, we'll create one sheet where we need to enter our data. So with data we'll enter. Okay, then pivot table, we need to do this pivot table thing. We need to just insert a pivot table, then we'll see this thing. Okay, in this thing we'll get 2-3 things. First is data range, whatever table range you are having, that we'll select here, and then we need to select whether you want to work with new worksheet or you need to work with existing worksheet. Okay, these are 2 things we need to do, and we'll do this on our Excel sheet. Okay, so for that I have this data to create one pivot table. Now what I am doing, I am selecting whole A, B, C, D, E column to create a pivot table. Okay, I am going on to insert and I am clicking on the pivot table. Okay, so once you create pivot table, you will find multiple things here. Okay, first is table range. We have selected table range, whatever A to E we have selected, you can see here. Okay, then new worksheet or existing worksheet. If I click on new worksheet, it will create one sheet, extra sheet here, new sheet as a pivot table. And if you want to work with existing worksheet, you can select here existing worksheet and then just click here in any cell where you want to start your pivot table, and it will get reflected over here. Okay, and click on OK. Okay, so this will be your starting of the pivot table where you are inserting the pivot table. Now you have inserted the pivot table. Now how you can insert it, I'll tell you again. First you need to just select your table area, then you just go to insert, and insert you need to select the pivot table. Okay, I'll tell you again. Just I'm selecting this range, then I'm clicking on pivot table. You will find the table range over here, and you will get 2 options, whether you want to insert this pivot table in new worksheet or you want to continue with your existing worksheet. Okay, here I have selected existing. Now I am showing you how you can select the new one. So if I click on new worksheet, then it will create a new worksheet. Okay, this is sheet 2 and you can find your table here. See, it is written here pivot table 2. One more thing, if you click on this pivot table area, then it will show you this thing. If you click outside, it will go away. Okay, that pivot table menu will go away. If I am clicking on it, it will come here. Okay, let's go back to our sheet number 1 where we'll see how we can create a pivot table. Now this pivot table area I am clicking here. Okay, now here there are multiple things that you can see here. Okay, now it's very simple to create a pivot table. Now you can see here are multiple things. Let's understand the data first. We have date, region, product, units sold, and sales amount. Now my question is, please tell me for what region, what sales amount we have got. Okay, now for that what I am doing, I am selecting the region and I am putting region into rows. Okay, see, region into rows. Now if you are putting anything from here into rows, then you will get that in vertical format. Remember, because you are putting something under rows, so you will get vertical format, means it will form a row. Now this is row formation. Okay, this is row formation. If you want to put region into the columns thing, you can put this into columns thing. Okay, it will create columns for you. Okay, but I don't want columns, I want in rows. And then what I want, sales amount. So sales amount I am putting into values. So whatever you are putting as a value means number. Okay, whatever number you are having, you should put into values. Now this is the sum of my sales amount. Okay, if I want to change it to something else, let's say if I want average sale per region, then what I'll do, I'll click on the drop down and I will find value field setting. From here I can change the value to average and it will convert to average. Now I have the average sales amount for each and every region. Okay, like this, whatever data you are having, you can create a pivot table for it and you can create a pivot table. Now we'll add more filters to it. For example, I want to see the sales amount for the region date wise. Now I want to put date as a filter into my table, so I am putting date as a filter. Now from here you can select whatever date you want. Okay, let's say I am selecting this date. Okay, this is first month of 2024. I am selecting this and it is showing me an average sales amount for month of January in 2024 for each and every region. Now let's change the values, and instead of region, I don't want region and I don't want to date as a filter. I'm removing region, and again I'm removing the sales amount. Now I want to see which product has how much sale. So I'm putting this product into rows, okay, and I'm putting the units sold into values. Okay, so I'm getting to know that total unit sold of headphones are 575. So according to this, I can easily find what is my sum of units sold, total units sold. I can find that here. Okay, according to that you can use here. There are multiple things that you can do. For example, I am removing this all things and I'm putting date into the columns. Okay, and I'm putting my product into the rows, and whatever sales amount I am getting, I am putting into values. Now if you can see here, okay, I am selecting all. So you can see I am getting my product sales according to the date. You can see here there are multiple dates that I can get here. Okay, now why it is showing blank? Because at the end of this column we have blank sales, that's why it is showing blank. Okay, so this is the meaning of pivot table. You can use the pivot table like this. Also you can edit your pivot table, you can do multiple things. You can do one more thing. For example, you can add sub points to this. Okay, for example, I am removing product and I am putting the region over here, and under region I am putting the product. Okay, now you can see here in East what was the product that is sold, and dates are here. You can remove the dates, it will give you a overview. So for example, in East region I have sold these 3 products and this is the sales amount. Okay, if you want to hide region, if you want directly region wise sales, total sales, then you can do from here. Okay, like this you have the region wise sales, plus you have the grand total, how much amount you have sold. Okay, how much gadget you have sold and how much amount you have got. Okay, so this is the use of pivot table. Apart from that, you can add one more value, which is units sold, into this, and this will tell you how many unit you have sold. Okay, so what you are getting to know, region, in what region what product you have sold, plus what was the sales amount and how many unit you have sold. If you want to see what was the average amount sold, then you can just simply go to your sales amount. You put your sales amount to this values. Okay, and in this you can go to this drop down and then click on value field setting, and here you can go to average. Okay, so it will give you average sales amount for your same region, and this is the value that you are getting. Okay, so according to this you can use your pivot table and you can solve lots of problems. I will give this sheet to you to practice each and everything from scratch. Also I have one more sheet which is Google Sheet, and here also you can insert your table like this. Just select your columns, then click on insert and click on pivot table. Okay, once you click on pivot table, you will find same option, new sheet or existing sheet. I want to create in existing sheet and I am clicking the here I am creating table here. Okay, and selecting OK. Okay, and then I'm clicking on create. Okay, and here you will get the things, same things, rows, columns, values and filters, everything will be same. There you will get box, here you will not get box. Okay, and if you want to see what is your sales according to region, just put your region to rows and put your sales amount into values. Okay, so in this way you can easily find the answers of your pivot table. You can create easily pivot table. According to that, you can do one more thing. In Google Sheet you can do one more thing. You can just this you can click here, percentage of row, percentage of column, percentage of grand total. You can add these things. Then you can click and change your aggregate from here, maybe sum, or you want average, mean, max, whatever you want, you can click change from here. Also you can change the table sorting according to your rows or whatever you are putting over here. Then for example, if I am putting on ascending, so it is already in ascending. If I am putting on descending, it will sort the result on the basis of the values. Okay, for now I am putting as a ascending. Okay, So this is the use of pivot table in your Google Sheets. Okay, now let's go back to our PPT and I'll summarize this how you can create the pivot table. Okay, so first step is very simple. You just need to create here your whatever table is there. You need to just select and click on insert and click on pivot table. Then here range will be there. You can cross check your range and then click on the new worksheet or existing worksheet. If you are clicking on existing worksheet, please select a cell so that it will create a table in that cell only. Then you will find one cell or a field, pivot table field, where you can play with it. Okay, there you will get 4 options. First is filter, to focus on a subset of your data, means whatever you want to filter, whatever parameter you want to select for filter, you can select that. Then columns will be help you to just create a column, means for example dates, you are creating date, so date 1, date 2, date 3, and it will help you to create a column. Then rows you want to creating rows. It's very simple, right? No need to explain over there. And the values means whatever numerical things you want to calculate, that you will put into value section. So for example, if you are putting your value into rows, then it will create a one column where you will have multiple values, so that it can put your all values into your right hand side and it will create a rows. Okay, so this is the use of rows. Just like that, we have created one report where we are talking about the sales amount region wise. Here we are talking about sales amount region wise. So similarly you will get here. I told you, if you want to change your values, then you can just click on the your drop down and then you will find a value field setting. From there you can change whatever you want to select, whether you want to select sum, count, average, mean, max, you can select from there. Then if you want to expand your result, while if you want to add more product data, if you want to add unit data, if you want to add dates, you can select the columns. You can just drag down your cell, you can drag down your column into the column section. Okay, whatever field you are having, that you can just select and put into a column section, and like that you will find your dimension. Okay, and according to that you are creating your dimension. Here in filters I have already explained, you can select on the basis of date, or you can select on the basis of your region. You can select in region also. If you put region into the your filter section, then it will show you result according to your selection, whatever region you have selected. Then you can select the design also. Let me show you how can select your design. So here if you go to this cell and if you click on the pivot table, so here you will get multiple options. You can refresh your pivot table, you can change data source, that we mostly not required, and here you can hide the rows headers. Okay, see, you can see here it is hiding it. Okay, then if you want to deselect your column headers, that you can select from here, and from here you can change your color of your table. Okay, so like this you can change your color of the table. Then you can add it banded rows, means if you want to highlight that, you can add this thing. Okay, so this is all about the pivot table, where you are creating pivot table, you are formatting pivot table, you are changing the numbers and you are changing the fields, and you are getting your table, you are converting your normal table into a dynamic table. Also you can convert your raw data into a proper structured table, where you can create the table and from that you can extract some insights. Okay guys, I hope you have understood about pivot tables, and in next lecture we are going to see about condition and conjunctions. So see you in next lecture. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you.